Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee with Lisa. I'm Spiritual Coach Lisa Hopp. It is Sunday, August 2nd, 2020. Thank you so much for joining me, for all of you coming back. Thank you. I appreciate you guys, your loyalty, your wonderful feedback. Those comments very often make my day when I get them, so thank you so much. And for those of you who are new, thank you for popping on. I am very glad you're here. Please check out my website at lisahopp.com. That's lisahopp.com for all about me, all about my services, all about any upcoming events. Thank you so much. And also, new people, please be sure, if you will, to go on my Facebook business page, also under Spiritual Coach Lisa Hopp, because I do post things there that are about what's happening at the office, and also every once in a great while I try to post some inspiring things as well. So I, in case you don't know, am on the East Coast of America. We have a bit of an unsettled weather time. We have a hurricane hitting the south, and we have some storms hitting the east, and it's very hot. I think it's going to hit about 100 degrees today, and well, I take it in stride. It's August. I kind of expect it, but I know it's hard on some, so stay cool. If you don't have air conditioning, hopefully you have a fan. Dunk your head in some ice water, whatever you need to do. But it's very much a time perhaps to stay safe and take care. And of course, we are still going through a COVID pandemic here where I am and having to use restrictions. And I don't mind at all. I think it's very important to stay safe, to think about each other, to guard our health, to really take care of our health. I want to do it. I have to do it. So I don't mind at all eating well, trying to get my rest, and wearing my mask. Wear your mask. Be safe. You're worth it. You are worth it. So on to our topic today. And at the end of the podcast, I'm going to tell you some exciting news about my work. But right now I want to get on to the topic. This topic came to me yesterday. For you intrepid listeners, you know that I can come up with a topic about 30 minutes before. Literally, as I'm going to get on, it's like, come on, what are you going to talk about? Because I really don't want to get on here and ramble, at least not on purpose. But this one came to me yesterday, and I think hopefully you will find it an interesting one. This week's topic is, do you think of yourself the way the world thinks of you? I had a client yesterday. I have a client most days, honestly. They feel differently about themselves than everybody else around them. They see themselves much different than anyone else around them. And often I feel we define how we see ourselves by how others treat us. But how others treat us has everything, 100% everything, about how they feel about themselves, not how they feel about us. People are unkind when someone hasn't loved them, or I should say, they can't love themselves because of it. I think the clients that I have, I know some of the clients that I have, and thankfully not too many, only really a few. They've been really unkind to me. They've been I want to say testing or questioning, or maybe not accepting what they're hearing, or perhaps being so unkind, they're quite belligerent. They're in that place because of what's going on with them, not in any way about me. So it doesn't mean I still don't feel it, like a little bit of a razor cut, because we feel it when someone is not, when someone is being verbally or emotionally abusive of us, even temporarily from a stranger. But I can understand at a deeper level why they're coming from that place. It's anger, it's fury, it's sadness, it's depression about their lives and what they've been through and what they're going through. And I just happen to be the one who was standing there receiving it. Just as maybe the day before they came to see me, it was a store clerk or a doctor or somebody like that, or perhaps even a family member. So I can understand that people treat us where they're at. But often we are defined by that, aren't we? We assume that if we go into a crowd, or when I was a teenager, I would assume that because I was in high school and people didn't pay much attention to me, honestly, until about my senior year. Then things looked up. Of course, I'm on my way out when things look up. But I really thought I was invisible. I really thought void. And so I felt there was a cloak over me, like I had an invisible cloak. And extension of that invisible cloak, I wasn't good enough. I didn't matter. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't smart enough. I was like in this void. I wasn't part of the smart crew. And I wasn't part of the pretty popular crew. I was kind of like the void in between. How many of you were there? And so I didn't quite feel like I mattered. And it wasn't, it wasn't my parents' fault. It wasn't, I don't know that it was really anybody's fault, to be honest. It's just the way it was. And then come to find out, many years later, not too many though, but a couple decades later, at least, approximately, I come to find out that that is not at all how I was felt about. They actually thought I was sweet and kind. They thought I was funny. They looked upon me very highly. But that's not how I thought about myself, because that's not what I perceived. So all along, I've come to find out in my wise beyond high school years that they were all going through their own stuff. And it wasn't that they were trying to ignore me or cut me out. They were just involved in where are they in their own place. Are they part of the intelligent, successful group? Are they part of the popular group? Maybe they wanted to be part of both and didn't know how to handle it, didn't know how to do it. They were in their own little bubble. And that even if they seemed like they had it all, they were wearing the crown during the homecoming parade, or they had plenty of attention, they really didn't feel they had it all at all. But from this young girl that was looking at that, it didn't seem that way, looking at it from the outside in. So it ultimately is about perceptions, isn't it? What we view and what perceptions we form. And I have to say, we often get it wrong. We often get it wrong because we're looking from the outside. And we never know a person's true inner story. We never do. We never do. I remember my very best friend, who I know is listening. And I do not know why, I just got very emotional. It's gratitude. It's gratitude. When I first met her, we met through a training for a charity walk for MS. And we came together simply on an online site. And we walked for a while, and we talked. She has a memory that she talked more. But I really do feel that I equally talked. And I remember one day, I had a bad day. I had a day where, or maybe I had a human day. I like to call it a human day. I probably vented about something. I can't really remember fully what came out of my mouth. All I remember hearing, it stuck with me. It'll stick with me the rest of my life. She said, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're not perfect. 'Cause I thought you were." And I remember her saying that, and I remember thinking, wherever could that have come from? Because that is definitely not a perception I have ever had of myself. Ever. Now, I'm of the wise perception that none of us are really in our own minds perhaps perfect, and I know that there's a God source that looks upon us as if we are, that sees that inner light within and loves us the way a parent unconditionally loves a child. But within ourselves, I don't know that there's a human being alive that fully feels that they are perfect. They may know that others think they're perfect, but I don't think they think they are. If they do, it's probably coming from, maybe it's part of an insecure place where they may say it, but do they really feel it? So I think of that story of her today telling me, "Oh my God, I thought you were perfect. I'm so glad," or "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're having this moment." She had a perception. I was probably just for a long time behaving myself, probably just trying to be perfect. But of course, her perception was not correct. Now, do I strive to be perfect every day? Absolutely. I am every single day trying to be better and better and better and being me. Being me. And sometimes I have to watch it because sometimes, good listeners, I'm very proud of the work I've done about me. And so I have to watch not to be so proud of the work I've done that I don't hold myself above another, because I know I shouldn't do that. And I tend to do that when someone is being hateful. I did it this morning when I was watching a news story. And I'm not going to go into the news story. I'm just going to say I had a guttural reaction to a group of people. And they are where they are. So I tend to hold myself above, which I say, no, don't do that. It's my own bias that you're in a place that's no longer acceptable. And I'll even talk about it sometimes on my personal Facebook page. It's true, but I should still not hold myself above another. But I should, as you should, love myself. I can love myself. I can be grateful for who I am. I can still strive to be better every day. But I should be sure to also not look down on another human being, no matter how much they may test me. And yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's so hard at times. Now, does that mean, listen, it does not mean that you should put up with them, allow them in your life, that you should not stand up for yourself, that you should not. It does not mean you should relinquish your power. It just means that you should not put yourself in a hierarchy above others, because we're all where we are in our evolution of life. And people who are incapable of loving another, whether it be another sex or another race or another status of economics, that was given to them. And we should anyway, feel compassion for where they are, because that's truly where they came from. But only through sticking with what we know is best, sticking with our call to make this a better world, and doing so with love. That is the only way that we can have a hope of transforming others. One time, a couple decades ago, I was working a normal job, unlike what I do today, a mainstream job, and as I like to call it, for a company. And I was beginning my spiritual learning journey. I was a student of healing. I had become a student of life coaching and of hypnosis. So I sent a question out one day to all of my coworkers through email. How would you describe me? Now, when I did that, I braced myself because I expected that there would be some negativity. I expected that people would say things about me that maybe was truth, but it would be hard for me to hear. Because that's what I thought about myself. That I was a work in progress. That I was a sinner. I wasn't good enough. So I braced to hear that from my coworkers, who were the ones I sent it out to. I admired and I knew to be good people. And the feedback I got was not at all negative. Apparently I'm a lot more fun to be around than I thought. And a lot more inspiring. That really helped me that day to begin to assemble a healthy view of who I wanted to be, and to know that I was further along in that healthy view, or further along in that journey of who I wanted to be than I thought. I don't know that I want to tell you to do that, but if you do want to take the risk and actually ask people what they think of you, you may be surprised. Because back to the topic, segue, people tend to have a much more positive and loving view of you than you have of yourself. It can be a bit about vibration. It can be. Now, inside of ourselves, we have the culmination of how we've been treated by others, by our families, by our teachers, by our pastors, by our rabbis, by our priests. We are the culmination of our experiences that come together and then cause definition, perspective, belief. It's like it bundles up and then feeds it back to you. But if at the heart of us we are good people, if at the heart of us we are for the most part happy, we're going to put that out into the universe. And I bet you've done this, I've done this, we tend to mask all those things that we have within us. We mask. We all wear a mask, don't we? When I'm having a bad day and I go out in public, when I'm having a bad day and I go into work to try to assist my clients, I am going to mask. I am not going to bring human Lisa into the appointment. They don't deserve that, my clients. The store clerk doesn't deserve if I'm having a bad day. I'm going to treat others to the best of my ability the way I wish to be treated. Oh, I have moments. I don't have a lot of those moments. But of course I would have moments because I'm human. But generally speaking, most of the people who are listening to this podcast are going to treat others with kindness and respect, even if they're feeling wounded. And a lot of us are feeling wounded, but we're not going to take it out. We're not going to take it out on people that cross our paths. I remember one time, again, another story. I digress to another story. Again, many years ago, I was going through a very difficult time. There was a lot on my plate. At the same time, I was going through health issues that were causing me tremendous discomfort physically. I was in pain, and I was living with that pain. So on top of having unbelievable stress, I'm having unbelievable pain, as if I'm in labor. Well, the female listeners, some of them may be able to understand what that pain may have felt like. The kind of pain without an epidural. And my fridge broke. And the company, the business that sold us sold us a lemon. So I'm at the store. In the middle of tremendous pain with all my stress, and the store manager does not want to replace the lemon. Well, I don't think another woman could have had more fury than I did that day. That manager had me at my lowest, struggling. And the only time I'm going to lash out at another human being is if I'm feeling tremendously tired, burnt out, or in pain, physical pain. But a moment of applause. I have figured out how not to be short or attack during pain. I've worked through that, so I will not do that anymore. There will never be a moment where pain will cause me to become another version of myself. So that I conquered. But at the time, I was still not there. I was still very vulnerable. Well, let's just say the moment I had in that store, which did not include name calling, it didn't go that way. It didn't go anywhere except that I was holding strong to my ground that I was going to get my fridge. I was going to get my new fridge. And so it was more of a standing still, holding my ground, not giving up, maybe a rising of the voice or raising of the voice. So it got to a point, which is, by the way, also unlike me. It got to a point where the manager said, just give her whatever she wants. So she leaves. He said that out loud. Now, by the way, that company has since gone out of business. So maybe he shouldn't have said that. But I did test him. In all fairness to this young manager, I tested him. I got my new fridge. I have since upgraded the fridge because this was many years ago, but I got a nice new fridge. And no, I did not get a fridge better than the one I truly wanted. I didn't say, oh, good, let me raise it by $1,000 then, since I can have whatever I want. No, I just wanted a fridge that worked. Now, I have somewhat based my opinion of myself of that moment in a store where I was in tremendous pain, tremendous stress, where I was just trying to get through the moment so I could go somewhere privately and try to handle my pain. I just wanted it done. But I've always not been proud of that moment when I wasn't the best version of myself. Now, I don't know for sure that young manager kept a negative idea of me. I could have talked to him 20 years later, and he could have said, oh, I know you were just having a bad day. That's okay. But my version of me, my definition of me, was formed also from that moment. I put it into my file. I could have quietly said, I'm not leaving till I get my fridge, rather than cause a scene. I have to say, I'm laughing, but it's not really funny. Well, maybe it is. My husband, who was with me, he knew just back down. He knew back away. He knew she's got this. He knew he should not say a word. So that was how headstrong I was. Because normally he would be supporting, chiming in, and trying to also give his viewpoint. But he knew, he's like, let her take it. I don't feel it's right, by the way, to be unkind to someone to get what you want, even if they're being unkind to you. Their practices were not fair. But I should still not have lowered myself to their standards. I should have stayed above their standards, but still held my ground. I could have been nicer. But I was tested. And so I filed that, as I said, into my lockbox of my perceptions of me. I've done that with my life. Whenever I've made a mistake, I hold it against myself far longer than anybody that may have been at the other end of that mistake. I take things hard about me because, as I said, I've always strived to be better and better, greater to greater. And I'll tell you why. Because from the moment of my inception, pretty much, maybe a couple years, I was good. I have always thought I had to earn someone's love, that it wasn't mine. It wasn't mine. I knew I had it from God, but I never really knew if I had it from humans, my fellow man. So my whole life, I have strived to be worthy of another's love. And it really comes back to, I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I was enough. When I went through school and I was ignored, it told me I wasn't enough. When I've been told I have to lose weight or I have to make some other change. I remember, she's now a fantastic person. She once told me when I was 16, 17, beginning of my 17th year, she said, Lisa, if you would lose those glasses, you'd be so pretty. So I knew that I wasn't enough. I wasn't pretty. Now that was her opinion, and she would probably say something completely different today about that time, but, or not, she might say, yeah, it was kind of true. She's honest like that. But that forms, it locks, it gets put in the lockbox of how you feel about yourself. Now, let's be clear. She said that to me, but was that truly her perception? She probably saw pretty through the glasses and said if you take them off, everybody else will see you're pretty. So, but I took it as a young girl who felt like an ugly duckling. I took it as, I'm not pretty, but if I take off the glasses, I might be pretty. But I can't take off the glasses because I won't be able to see. So I took it one way. She probably meant it in another. By the way, today, she thought she was an ugly duckling back then. But she didn't sound it. She never sounded it. So perceptions, looking at it from how we receive it, how it looks from the outside. How many of you have assumed that when someone's ahead of you in the grocery line and they're using help, how many of you have biases that spring up? Oh, look, they're taking advantage of the system. Maybe if they got another job, they wouldn't need those food stamps, whatever it is they call them today. WIC or maybe EBT. There's different names. I'm not really knowledgeable. But I myself have seen people use checks. How many assume a conjured up story about what their lives may be like? I'm not saying, by the way, that you're an awful person. We often have perceptions of people without knowing a thing about them, without knowing what they've been through. I used to have great Christmases as a child, and my parents would make Christmases magical. So I had friends that assumed that we had money because of great Christmases. They assumed. How much do you assume about others without hearing their stories? Do you walk with someone on a trail and assume that they have perfections just because they hadn't vented to you yet? We all have so much going on within ourselves that others don't see. But But inevitably, the goodness of who you are, excuse my clearing throat on a Sunday morning, the goodness of who you are always will emanate. It always will seep out. Because our spirit, our core, our heart, our soul, our being, it's so big, it's so large, that it can't be contained entirely. Unless you don't have any of it. But most of us are walking around this earth have some semblance of light, a big light within them that can't be covered up by our bodies. And that light will bounce out. And people will know it, they'll feel it, they'll see it, and they'll go, yes, she has a good heart. She may not love herself, but she has a good heart. Yeah, she tries hard, she works hard. She seems tired. But I know that she's just trying to make it through. We can't help but bounce that information out to others. But we assume that because maybe they're having a bad day as well, or maybe even a harder day than us, that what we get from them, what we perceive in them, is how they truly feel about us and about the world. If you were to press someone against a corner, someone who's very, very, very negative, and you were to press them and ask them questions, they would probably give in and tell you, yeah, life's not so bad. You're right. But it's programmed within them to complain. But if you were to really pin them down to say, do you have a roof over your head right now? Do you have food? Do you have beautiful children? Do you have a job? Do you have, what do you have? Even if some of those things are missing that I just said, if you were to pin them down to what they have, they would be able to say they are blessed in some way. I may be getting off the topic, but my point is that we can never take anything at face value. We can never take at face value how people feel about us. All we know, all we can know, all we can work on is how we feel about ourselves and how we treat others. Today, I know that the way to get the fridge quicker, the way to get anything I may want quicker, is to treat the person standing in front of me with respect and with a balanced temper, a balanced personality, no matter what's coming back at me. I won't meet fire with fire. I won't meet injustice with injustice. I won't meet bad karma I will only meet it with good karma. Then they want to give me stuff. And I've said that to others. Do not talk down to people. Do not be belligerent. Do not get on the phone to a customer service person or to the door-to-door salesman that's just trying to feed their families and be mean, because it's only going to bounce back on you, and you don't know what they're going through. You don't know. You don't know what scars you may implant because you're having a bad day or because you wish to be disrespectful. And you don't know if they're not going to take, and they probably will, take that moment and put it in their lockbox. And it defines who they are for the rest of their lives. or until they choose to heal it. Never, ever, though, define yourself by how another treats you or how another says they feel about you. If someone hurt you, they are not worthy of being in your bubble. But that doesn't mean that you can't send them love, that you can't send them compassion, that you can't send them wisdom. We should always just wish for everyone to be healed while we work every day on trying to heal ourselves. You, like I, can go back to every scene in your life like a regression, but awake, and see those moments where a mother, a father, a teacher, an employer said something that we filed in our lockbox, a sibling, someone we admired. Those moments when they were being their human selves and they let us down. A boyfriend, a girlfriend, a spouse, where they said to us by their actions or by their words, "You're not enough." You were lied to in those moments. You were not being truthful. To the girlfriend, to the boyfriend that dumped you. They lied to you. You were and you are today more than enough. You are perfect in the eyes of your Creator. I will say that to you over and over and over and over and over and over again, because it's the truth. You are loved. You are adored. You are magnificent. You are amazing. You have gifts. Those of you listening to me have gifts that I don't have. There are those of you who are crafty. I am not crafty. There are those of you who can cook. I'm not really a cook. There are those of you who sing magnificently. I sing good on a good day. There are those of you who are physically adept, that can run fast and lift heavy weights. Listening. I can't do that. There are those of you who can ace a test. I have test anxiety. I'm working on it, so I'm not going to pronounce that as reality forever. I'm in the process of working through it, and the process of conquering it. But each and every one of you has a gift that is unique to you. Humor, generosity, all of you matter. We all matter. Some of us are teachers to others. We're all teachers to others, but some of us are teachers more to others. When you see someone who's trying to hold on to their life of hate and unkindness and lack of love, that's someone screaming for love. All of us need it. But even that person, even a person who is a racist, still has other gifts, still is lovable in their own way. They just have one area where they weren't shown how to love because they didn't get it enough themselves. So I want you today on this Sunday, if you have time, if not tomorrow, I want you to go through everything you think about yourself, everything. And I want you to go through and I want you to check into it and to say to yourself, where did this come from? Did it come from me and my hard work? Or did it come from another person? Did it come from my mother, my father, my siblings? Did it come from an ex-husband, an ex-wife? Did it come from a teacher in the past? Did it come from a coach? Did it come from a pastor? Where did that thought, that feeling, that belief come from that you have of yourself? And as you go through that list, throw out everything that did not come from you. Everything. Throw it out, clear it up, clean it up. And then I want you to start accumulating additional, more thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about yourself. Fill in the holes left by throwing out what was given to you from people that were only projecting themselves onto you. That's all they were doing. That's all they were doing. You were getting the brunt of their lives. You were getting the brunt of their day. If a teacher was left by her husband, she might come in and take it out on you on a test score. I had a teacher once. She won't be listening. Hint, hint to those of my teachers that might be listening. She had a reputation, this teacher, of kind of being not too nice. But I had never experienced it personally, so I didn't think much about it until one day she was having a bad day, and it was my turn. But to be honest, I was a young girl that was being a little bit more disruptive. I was trying to be funny. I didn't mean to cause her to erupt. I wasn't innocent, is what I'm saying. But the attack on me was over the top. She, instead of taking it in that moment and saying, right now, hey Lisa, right now, you're disrupting the class a little bit. Try not to be so funny. Let's get back to the topic of what we're learning. She went and teared into my entire self. I'm always a horrible person. I'm always this. When I knew that was the first moment I'd ever been like that in her class, I was always quiet. I completely understood in that moment that that's why she had a reputation of not being kind. Because she goes right for the jugular. Now she's in heaven today, God willing. And I know that she probably saw those scenes in her review. And she understands how she was perceived and why. I know today as an adult that she was only taking out on all of us her unhappiness about her life, and that she wasn't always that way. I'm sure there were teachers that liked her in her private moments that they got to see. But what she gave to me that day what was missing within her. She shut a child down, not only in mouth, in verbally, but she shut down my self-esteem, my personality, my thought of myself. And you know what happened? I felt it. I felt that every student in that classroom felt bad for me. Not one of them thought that I was being disruptive. They all looked at her like, what is up with you? So that was a good moment in high school. Maybe after all, correct? Yes. What could have been worse, right? Could have been the whole classroom and her being awful. But they were like, whoa, where'd that come from? Because I wasn't known like that. But at the time, I didn't know I wasn't known like that until years later. They never perceived me as someone who was disruptive, my classmates. They never perceived me as someone that was obnoxious or would try to be a pain to a teacher. No, they never saw me that way. But she didn't like young people. She should have thought about another career, perhaps. However, as I said, even though that just sounded harsh, it was about her pain inside. And I can only wish that she rests in peace. I want that for her. Healed and love that she could never have on earth. I also want to say this to you. Those who are listening, for the most part, unless you are my bestie, you don't know me. But I do love you. And I don't say that in a cheesy, shallow, roll your eyes kind of way. Roll my eyes kind of way. I mean that. Because I know what each and every one of us goes through every day. And our hardships. This is a boot camp. And we're inundated every day with things to tackle in the way of hate and pressures and expectations and beliefs put onto us and others' perceptions. And we have scars, and we are often beat up, aren't we, on the outside and the inside. So I want to tell you that there is a person out there. There's many, but this one on this microphone understands and can give you love no matter what. And I think that's important for you to know. Thank you so much for joining me. I actually thought this would be a shorter podcast today. Apparently, last 2 weeks, I've wanted to talk for almost an hour. I must be stopped. So perhaps you listen to this in increments, because I do value your time. Do you want to say to business? I've opened up my hypnosis practice. It is available in person, but also via Zoom. I do ask that you book a telephone consultation so I can make sure that I am the appropriate person to go to for hypnosis, and that I'm the one that can help you. Booking that is available through my online scheduling system at my website, which once again is lisahop.com. You choose schedule appointment, and then you choose telephone consultation for hypnosis under coaching, channeling, and hypnosis. I also want to let you know that I'm going to be starting a new YouTube channel soon. This one's for entertainment purposes only, more than any other thing I do. Unlike my other pieces of work, where I say that for legal purposes, this one truly is more for entertainment purposes. So stay tuned for that. I'm not going to say more this time. Thank you again for joining me. And please like, share, subscribe, and give me feedback. I would appreciate it so much. A very blessed Sunday. Take care of yourselves. Stay cool. Stay dry. I love you. Take care.